Anybody online, right? Okay. All right. We would like to excuse Chair Angie Frankham this evening. I will be conducting and chairing this meeting. My name is Chad Holbrook. We don't have any visitors.
Sorry, Chad, we just need you to call for a vote to make sure that everybody's okay with you being the temporary chair tonight.
All right, is everyone on the planning commission okay with me chairing this meeting? All in favor?
I,
Thank
you.
Good. I forget, who's the vice chair?
It was Nathan and he resigned, so we never filled that position.
Thank you. I actually thought that Isaac. See you tonight. Well, that's good. This is an old familiar suit for me. Okay, let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. And again, for purposes of our committee, I would like to welcome Christine Palmer as the newest member of our
Thank
commission. It's great to have you. Another intelligent person that helps look things over. Okay, let's move on to agenda item number 2. Did you get a chance to review the meeting notes of August 13th? By chance, did you ever get a copy of those?
August 13th, is that what I got last month?
Should.
Okay, yes.
Okay. Okay. Any questions or concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve our.
I will second that. Or, yeah, right,
Go ahead and make the motion.
okay. That is, I will make a motion to approve the, meeting minutes, from the planning commission meeting of August 13th, 2025.
I second that.
That's all in favor, say.
I,
Okay, very good. Let's move on to agenda item number 3. Which is to recommend ordinance 562 housing affordability. Did you all get a chance to review that?
Yeah, I did, yeah, we had our work session and then I looked through it again, I should, the email a week or 2 ago. And I'm great with it as is, it changed a bunch and I think it's a good place to start. I think, there are any issues going forward, it has enough wiggle room that we could, a couple of years down the road, if we need to make changes, we could, but I think to start off, it's a very good to start meeting our goals for housing affordability, so I'm okay with it now as written. How about you guys?
I did. My only question about it that I really wasn't 100% on was like the timeline for all of the building for the affordable housing. So was it like in the next 5 years? Like that things are gonna be built and like ready to go? Or these are just ideas that we have for certain land areas?
That's a great question.
Would you
So
like me to
I
take
would
that?
help Sarah to give that response. She has a more holistic picture than I do.
So right now, we're just implementing the ordinance, which gives the opportunity for developers and builders to approach us and apply this to their particular projects. So as far as the timeline goes, as soon as this is approved, whenever it's approved, then it could be put in place. And so that could happen soon. And it just depends on how eager the community is to start building. So it could happen just as soon as the ordinance is approved, if there's a developer out there with a piece of land that wants to approach us and apply for this particular zoning.
Okay,
Zoning overlay, yeah.
so the initial with this affordable housing. So this is something that we're looking at first, or for like businesses to come into Harrisville.
So this is particularly just for housing and it applies only to residential zones right now.
Okay,
And we have a different overlay that we use for mixed use and commercial and a different approach for commercial, but this is particularly just to get more affordable housing in our current residential zones.
okay. Thank you.
Good. You can always correct me if I'm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have
Yes,
some
please.
recommendations in the memo, if you wanted me to go over
Yes,
it, would you like?
yes, love to have you do that, thank you.
So I went through kind of third, fourth time, there were a couple sections that just were gnawing at me a little bit, more technicalities than really the overall implementation.
Can we bring that up on the screen? That particular part of the memo, I think it's like page 3 or 4, isn't it?
Second page. The proposed draft revisions to consider. So currently, owner occupied, so the state has a definition for owner occupied. And I wasn't here at the beginning of this draft, but the draft has a different well, and that may be just that the state hadn't provided all the information. And so I'm just looking at what the state defines as owner occupied versus what is in our current draft. I would feel more comfortable with the state's definition. Our draft allows for the use of trusts. And trusts can be difficult as far as creating loopholes, you know, someone can have a trust and the owner owns 1% or is a beneficiary of 1% of the trust and lives in the home, but they actually don't own the home. I'm just concerned that using a trust in that definition will
Right.
create loopholes, so I'd rather stick with just the state definition, which reads owner occupied. Occupier means an individual who owns solely or jointly a housing unit in which the individual lives as the individual's primary residence. And I just think that it is cleaner. And however trusts apply to that, they would have to prove that they own it solely or jointly. I'd rather close the loophole.
Nice.
Any thoughts or?
No, I think that's very
I'm
fantastic.
good with that. Okay.
That's something I never thought about, so that's really interesting.
This next number 2 is just kind of cleanup. There's a rare exception, and you probably read it, that just, if you had a house that was angled towards a corner and it was on the outside edge of a corner, your street frontage would look different. I think it's probably not necessary in this ordinance to get that specific on what that frontage needs to look like, because this is gonna be done by development agreement. If there was some sort of extenuating circumstance, we could apply it, because the ordinance does say that these are the recommended design standards, and that the developer could, I'm trying to think what exactly the language is. So we wanted to make sure that the developer did have room to present something possibly different, knowing that this is the standard we're looking for. Let's see, says design standards shall be followed unless the developer can present a compelling reason to deviate from the given standards. So if they had a home that appears to have the right frontage, even though it's on a curve, I think that would fall under compelling reason, and then it would just clean up our language a little bit, not to have item C, dwelling where lot frontage is on the outside curve of a street right of way. I just feel like it's probably not important to specify at that point. I got really excited about a lot of specificity, and I think that we can probably leave that one a little more open-ended. So any thoughts or ideas on that? Or questions?
And the compelling reason still has to be minor, right? So we're not talking about major changes to.
Well, if they if they propose a major change, you need to realize that this is what the planning commission, and if the city council approves this as well, this is what you're looking for. And the reason we put standards in here is so that they know before they even get here that that's what we're looking for. So if they're proposing a major change, then they're gonna need a very compelling reason, and it's up to them, but we're just trying to set an expectation of what we've discussed wanting to see. So if you only want minor changes, that'll be for you to decide. If you don't like the changes at all, that is for you to decide. So the third point. It's my third point, okay. So the current draft, requires a developer to submit cost estimates and expected margins as part of their concept plan. And I've been thinking about this specifically a lot because I understand the reason for wanting to do this. I know we want to keep those costs down, but one thing I've learned as we've put a lot of just civil projects out to bid, every contractor has vastly different pricing. And they generally, we'll have one contractor that has double the price on one line item than another contractor, but their total bid will be similar because they have better connections in a different part of the process. So my concern here is that we're gonna get a lot of pressure from developers saying, I can't build your design standards at my price when they go and shop out the highest line item at every supplier in town. And try and push us to compromise our design standards because once we've agreed to that target price, I don't know that we can make them disclose their profit margins. And so I'm not confident that that would be even a real profit margin sheet. And I think it would just become a negotiation point with developers pushing us and saying, we can't do what you want, we can't do what you want. When in reality, I think we're offering 5,000 square foot lots on agricultural land that's 1 per acre. If they can't make it work on that particular parcel, then they need to find different suppliers, different land, possibly the land price is too high. Or maybe their financing isn't going to be good enough for this project, but I'd rather put that burden on the developer to meet our design expectation than to worry about exactly how the house is made, the numbers in between. So I think this is the one that's probably the biggest discussion point. But that is my concern. If we did eliminate this section where they were just giving, I like the idea of them having to present a plan with the current zoning. So they see, oh, current zoning, I can build 5 houses. I love that they see that and know that is what we're starting at, because we've had some developers really forget what they're getting in this process. So having that versus what they could get with our design standards, I think would show them the value without actually putting numbers to the project, just saying, this is what we want. If you can do it, great. If you can't, maybe this isn't the project for you.
Yeah,
I like that.
that makes sense. And then,
So I think Sarah kind of spelled out, but the intention of having the expected margins included or having cost estimates was to kind of hold the developer's feet to the fire, to hold them accountable to keep this pricing at affordability, right? That's the goal of the whole overlay, is to provide affordable housing. And so I admittedly had a little bit of heartburn at first over having this removed, but as long as we maintain the target price and our focus is the affordability factor, I agree with Sarah, and it doesn't necessarily become our job to be involved in that process of how they get there.
Right.
It's a very unique circumstance that we're in right now where we're talking about the price of land as cities, because that's not our goal. Our goal is to apply our development standards on an application. And so I'm okay with removing the expected margins or submitting the cost estimates to show that, as long as our focus remains on that target price, which is staying in the ordinance, and that's kind of where our focus will be. We just don't want to lose sight of how they're getting there. We want these to be beautiful neighborhoods by all means, but we want to make sure that we're holding the developers' feet to the fire. And I think we still can. There are a lot of other mechanisms that we can use to make sure that these homes remain affordable. And as far as our focus is the ordinance.
That's great. Yeah, I like that. That makes good sense to me as I read it. Yeah, I like all of those. I think that all makes good sense.
Yeah, me too.
And we heard back from Angie. She didn't read the third section. So she sent it, so I sent it to her. Okay, she's on the other two staff recommendations. We're just trying to see, I wanted to read an email from Angie, but we weren't sure, she didn't see the third recommendation, but she, that's not the right paper, just a second. Business. She just said, I'd like to record a comment for tonight's planning commission meeting, and this is from Angie Frankham, our chair, for the record. I agree with the October 8th staff report memo and recommendations, both 1 and 2, written by Sarah Wickern. We had just contacted her because she said she didn't read number 3, and so we just wanted to make sure she didn't oppose to it, because we wanted to convey that to you if she did have some issues she wanted to share with them. But right now, we haven't heard yet.
Okay.
But she agreed with the first 2.
Okay.
She may get a family function. It's not, that allows her to get out. So. Okay, so in your estimation, then this strengthens our ordinance and does not weaken it.
I do. I think, I really like the language that we've worked together to come up with, to have some design standards, because I think that is the most important thing these developers are going to be looking at. And given that that we do have the wiggle room, that they can provide a compelling reason to deviate from them, I really want to see these developers get creative and provide something beautiful. And I think with the target price mixed with our design standards, I really think we have the option of getting there. I personally like it with these recommendations. That's my thoughts. But if you look at the agenda that Cynthia did, there are different ways you could recommend this. You could recommend it as written. You could recommend it with the revisions outlined in the memo, or recommend it with other revisions that you see fit, or table the recommendation until a certain time when you feel like a decision could be made. So those are the options ahead. We've already had our public hearing for this, remember, with some of our communities, or some of our community coming out to speak. You can think about what comments were made there to help to decision.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
On page 5 of just above F, the last sentence. As I was reading this, this kind of hit me wrong. And so I'm just wondering if, and it says the last sentence of the paragraph above F says the planning commission will approve the preliminary plat after review by the appropriate city departments. As I read that, I thought, the first thought that occurred to me is basically the planning commission is a rubber stamp for city. and just does whatever the city wants. I think we may want to change the language in that so that if our idea is to present an objective body, planning commission is an objective and distinct body. I think we want to change the language in that if that's reason.
So the plat isn't, and correct me, how you feel about that?
So this is possibly just a misunderstanding of interpretation of what the sentence is meaning. This is referencing the subdivision ordinance requirement that the planning commission does the preliminary plat approval. Because the planning commission is the body that now gives preliminary plat approval, and then the final approval is given administratively through the land use authority. So I think possibly I see exactly how you're saying this, saying it here. But I think the intention of this sentence is that it will go to the planning commission for the administrative task of preliminary plat
I
approval.
like how you put that. That sounds better than how it's put.
So if we put the word, the planning commission will recommend the
So they actually,
review, but
they
they're
actually approve it, so are you more comfortable with saying the planning commission may approve?
Yes, submit it to the planning commission who may approve preliminary plat.
The word
Or
will
will, whatever,
gives the indication that it's going to happen, that it's
Right.
guaranteed to happen.
right,
So we'll
that's
soften that by using the word may.
very nice. Thank you, you understand this so much better than I do, so I just wanted to share with you how it'd be.
Well, as you read it out loud, I can see how you would have read it that way. I think its intent was referencing the subdivision ordinance in that step, and that is an administrative action, not a legislative one. But in the approval of the development agreement, in the approval of the concept plans under this overlay, that is a recommendation on a legislative decision for the city council.
So the actual design, that will go through this body.
And then we'll just change, that's an easy correction for us to.
Okay, sweet,
catch.
And something, so looking at your approval, you could.
Yep.
Add multiple layers of revisions, so that would be a good one to include.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking right there, this number 3.
So my recommendation would be during the motion, you would identify this change as well, if you want that to be revised.
So we could include parts of number 2, and parts of number 3. In our motion.
Right, so you see, okay. With revisions, Lighting City Planners memo dated October 8th, and I'm about to read that whole sentence.
Sure.
You wanna go for it?
Okay,
Deep breath, right?
okay, all right. I will make a motion to recommend ordinance 562, housing affordability, with, excuse me, with revisions outlined in the city planners memo dated October 8th, 2025. With following revision to change the wording of the paragraph or the last sentence, the paragraph above letter F, to say that the planning commission may approve the very plat after review by the appropriate city departments. That was long to do that.
Beautiful. Would you like to second that?
I second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
That's great. All in favor? That, beautiful. This is awesome. This is awesome. Our city. Okay. All right, let's move on to agenda item number 4. And as there are no public comments, because there are no members of the public here, we'll go ahead and close that agenda item. And move on to number 5. Do we have any mission staff follow-up updates?
So the only update I have is to give a report back that the mayor and I attended the League of Cities and Towns training last week. As you can imagine, housing affordability was a very, front and foremost, a lot of discussion regarding how the state is addressing affordable housing. Some unique presentations by some other cities that have done some similar things to what we've done with the golf course development and other mixed use developments, trying to address and target the affordability factors. Some feedback from a lot of other communities in the challenges that they're facing, trying to bring in that affordability level. So we're hopeful that this will give another tool to developers to come in and entice them into Harrisville to work with us to get a good project that will help that. So that's our report on that.
It's wonderful. As I was thinking through this, how many parcels of land are 5 acres or more and are available within the city for development? I mean, realistically, it's a really small portion.
So not as many as we used to have.
Right.
There, as part of the moderate income housing report, we have to identify the number of parcels that can be entitled under their current zoning. So we look at our current zoning map, and then I have the city recorder calculate out how, to Sarah's point, with the first concept plan under this ordinance would show in a 5 acre parcel in an A1 zone, they would be able to build 5 homes. And we have to report that back to the state, but an exact number of how many parcels are 5 acres or more, I don't know off the top of my head. But you can
I was just curious.
review our moderate income housing report itself, and it'll tell you kind of a number that's could be developed under their current entitlements.
And Chad, something else to keep in mind is many times developers come in and buy up multiple parcels.
Right.
So I would imagine if this is lucrative enough to them, that would happen.
And now that brings up a question, now that we just motioned, did we identify the 5 acres as has to be 1 parcel?
No,
Okay. So we did give, I can't remember now.
it just go right above where you're at, right there, to be considered the overall project acreage.
Perfect. Yeah, that just brought up.
It's just like,
Parcel, I know, yes.
No, so it could be, sorry. Substance treatment. It could be multiple parcels that are combined to create a project like this. And many times developers come in
But
certain areas.
all together in one place.
It has to be contiguous, and that's not necessarily something that we addressed in here, but if someone came to us with something that was not contiguous, I wouldn't consider it.
Okay. Right. So having that much space in Harrisville that is developable. That much that.
So we're looking, we have a lot of space in the A1 zone. But we do have other areas in the city that this could be used as an infill ordinance. Where there are a few parcels between areas of development that haven't been filled in yet. And this could also be a tool that developers can use those spaces as well. What we're finding in the housing, in some of the, in fact, the mayor and I at our subcommittee meeting on Monday received a presentation from a company that's trying to help with affordable housing by, it sounds a little rough up front because it starts with rental units under the LIHTC standards for the federal government. And once that expires, they work with the project owners to turn those into owner occupied units. And during that process, they look at large acreage to make those happen, because the larger the development, the more affordable they can drive that price down. So it'll be really interesting to see how and when. But I thank you for having open minds and being willing to entertain another tool that people can use so that we can be partners in addressing Governor Cox's request to build more single family homes.
Well, yeah, it's even more important than that to me, the fact that we're trying to serve our citizens. And to me, that just gives us another tool to help. Just like is mentioned in there, it's not only just for first home buyers, but for citizens of Harrisville. So I think that's critical. We want multiple generations here, we get to have housing options. And affordable housing options. So, yeah, to me, that's more important than what Governor Cox has said about the. They see you kind of weak because. Anyway, that's fabulous. Okay, any the latest, they're going gangbusters on the golf course, which is so exciting.
We've issued a few building permits there, so you'll see that some things going vertical now on that project. The roads are paved for phase 2A.
So exciting.
On the Cottonwoods, I noticed the sign's still out for commercial. We have any?
Do we have an update on Copperwoods?
No, I'll get in touch with him tomorrow and see what's going on, because I didn't see any construction going on the parking lot or. So. You can follow.
Thank you. All right, either you have any?
I have none.
I do not.
If that's the case, I'm gonna exercise my authority as the chair and adjourn this meeting. Okay. Very good.